Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Well, good morning, everybody. Another Monday. We've got some big things coming up this week. Tomorrow, CPI. We're also in the blackout period for Federal Reserve, as we'll get that in a week. And so I think that we might have some interesting movement this week. But today, likely to be pretty quiet because I doubt very many people are going to want to take big risks ahead of tomorrow's CPI, which I'm not anticipating will be too bad, but there's still that risk that, you know, especially with the housing component, that CPI is still hot and that spooks the market. And we are kind of recovering from Friday as well. So let's come in and look at the charts and see. We've got a couple of rollovers here, first of all, to deal with. So let's do that. So we are now on June for the S&P 500. All right, so here we are in the treasuries. And yeah, look at that. Friday was pretty crazy. We saw both sides of it, but then ultimately ended up unchanged on the day after the non-farms report. A little bit of a move up and then back down, but we're still about where we were in the treasuries, and I'm pretty skeptical that we'll move too much today. Here's the S&P 500, though, looking a little down, and one of the big things that I saw overnight reading through my synopsis and stuff is that NVIDIA is down. There's a couple of reports, things like that, so we don't know if it's a big deal or not, but NVIDIA is down, and that seems to be dragging down the broader market. Here's oil. Oil also hammered on Friday. Gold and silver, though, man. I think if there's been a trade this month, it's been gold and silver, right? Does not really suggest a whole lot of confidence to me right now in the currencies. Here you got copper. Copper, just meandering. Again, they gave up some of their gains on Friday, but they're trying to pull themselves out of it. All sorts of weird stuff going on in China right now, too. Because apparently they had like 100% humidity. Okay, then we've got the Japanese yen. Continues to look strong. Last night, reports on their GDP that suggests that they are not in a technical recession. So a little bit of Japanese yen strength over there, although not affecting the dollar too much today. That's kind of curious, huh? And then we got Bitcoin. Bitcoin decided to go for it before the end of the week, and they did make it, and then it's been pretty calm through the weekend, so we'll see where they go. But again, Bitcoin up, dollar up, or sorry, Bitcoin up, gold up. It's not showing a whole lot of confidence in the dollar right now, and I'm kind of starting to get the impression that the market thinks that countries will debase their currency, but that you will not get higher yields. That's kind of what they're acting like. So we'll see how that goes. All right, lots of people here bright and early on a Monday. Good morning, A. Paul, Dom, Octavius, Rob, and Uzi. Let's switch over our ES now. So we are on H and we need to go to J. Let's see here. ESJ. Oh, come on. Is it not J? Oh, it's M. I was looking over here at these ones. Wait, where did I get J from? Should be M. Yes, it should be M. Oh, I saw it on oil, so I that's why I was thinking J. Because oil is a month ahead. Oil is already in April's. But these ones are quarterly. Okay. And the liquidity doesn't seem too different between them. I don't know why. Shouldn't Ninja Trader be suggesting I roll forward on the Friday? And shouldn't it be after the expiration? I don't really get that. But okay. We'll roll it over because it wanted me to. Let's see here. Somebody in Discord. Yo, anyone use TradeStation? Surprisingly, no. I've run across surprisingly few people on TradeStation, even though it's supposed to be like one of the biggest futures trading platforms. Indie Scalper says he rolled NQ this morning. Oh, okay. I kind of get a little worried because I think that there might be some changes to instruments and things like that even if you come in here and you go to like your database management and you update your instruments lists and things like that, right? There might be changes that are, to the newest version of Ninja Trader that I don't get. So, I don't know. Eventually they'll break it and then I'll ask them if they can please switch me over to a different license. I don't know. Well, let's come over to, let's start with Zero Hedge. Let's see what they've got going on. Gold spurred by Fed pricing still below inflation adjusted peak. As the Fed actually starts cutting rates, a bullion has potential given that declining rates would enhance the allure of a non-yielding asset. Biden agrees to sign bill that could ban TikTok if Congress passes it. That's like a Friday. That was a Friday story. Oh, what's this? Biden begins next PR blitzkrieg to sway minds of Americans. Probably it's just him doing the same thing that he's always been doing. Let's see what they're saying. InfoWars is doing it, huh? 2 weeks ago, we described how after 2 months or so since House Democrats abandoned the White House administration's propaganda campaign to sell the American people on the disastrous Bidenomics, the White House would pivot to a new messaging strategy of shrinkflation. Oi. Oi, oi, oi. Biden's political decisions, his political instincts, just seem so off to me. Like, if you're Joe Biden, the last thing that you want to do is to get people thinking about how bad things are. To get people upset at, like, well, they're going to work, though. Like, I think probably you're right to some extent in that, like, if you go on Reddit, these people are absolutely convinced that inflation is caused by corporations getting more greedy, right? And I don't think that anybody that really understands economics takes that stuff seriously, but there's so many people arguing around in circles trying to convince people of it, right? And if you're going to say, like, there's shrinkflation, that corporations are just giving you less and giving you more crappy products, well, that propaganda is probably going to work because, I mean, it's true to some extent, right? Things that have, most products have gotten less, right? The problem is that people believing that doesn't help Joe Biden win the election in November. You get what I mean? Like, all that does is dampen economic sentiment and make people unhappy about the economy and less likely to vote for the person that's currently in power. So if I was a Democrat, man, I would be hopping mad, like the direction that this is going. Because, like, if the election was held today, Donald Trump would probably win. And it seems like every step of the way, Joe Biden is doing everything he can to lose, you know? People who understand economics are a minority. Yeah, well, you know, the greedflation narrative, I have found it incredibly difficult to reason with these people, because if you tell them the way that the economics really works, they think that you are supporting their argument, right? Like once they really start to, or what happens is they start with this argument that's like, oh, inflation is caused by corporations, not money supply. And basically, as you argue with them, like, the goalpost moves until all of a sudden they're like, oh, see, you're just arguing what I'm arguing. No, because corporations aren't what causes inflation. Corporations are just reacting to the economic environment and doing the only rational thing that they can do in that situation. But whatever. Again, but like, that's the thing is I think part of Joe Biden's problem here, you got this narrative, it's been working, and people are mad about shrinkflation and inflation and so forth, right? The problem is that does not make them want to support Joe Biden. They say, well, the reason that this all happened under Joe Biden, so we should get rid of him. It doesn't help him. I can't reason with people who believe things outside of economics. Well, then we have to get back into one of my favorite arguments about how the term economics is too broad, because there's economics like the empirical study of markets, versus economics like the philosophy of, like, economics based philosophy and policy that you can't always prove, right? Nah, I don't see how you say that carries Biden to an easy victory. It's just look at what's happening right now. Just look at the polling right now. Because this whole thing has been, oh, people are really down about the economy, and if their sentiment about the economy rises, then maybe Joe Biden's favorability rating will rise as well. And what has happened over the last 3 months is that negative sentiment about the economy has shifted. The consumer sentiment and all of those sorts of measures have evened back out, but it hasn't improved Biden's favorability rating. Right? Why is that? It's because as much as people are down about the economy, they think it's Joe Biden's fault. And so you really have to convince people, if you want to win as Joe Biden, you've got to convince people that, like, this is one of the greatest economies ever, and it's all due to Joe Biden's economic policies, right? Coming in and getting people complaining and upset about shrinkflation does not accomplish that. It makes it worse. So by pushing shrinkflation propaganda, I think it hurts Democrats standing in the poll, not help. As a reverse 2020, Trump is hiding on his social media platform with minimal exposure while Biden has all the messaging and platforms pumping his messages? And I think you might be right about that. Like, do you see people talking about the things that Donald Trump wants them talking about? Is Donald Trump controlling the conversation the way that he did when he first ran? I would say no. He says all sorts of silly things on Truth Social, but, like, nobody cares. But I don't know if that's really the decider in this election, per se. I will say, people were a lot more interested in the Statement of the Union address. But again, if I was a Democrat, I would be trying to change the subject as quickly as possible. For starters, his speech was like pretty much the same speech that he's given for the last like 3 years, right? So we're pretty much the same speech. But then he was doubling down on the policies that people are blaming for the problem, right? He's like, oh, let's give people a $500 a month credit if they're buying a new home for 2 years. $500 a month for 2 years. That is crazy, man. And you think, and the big problem is people can't afford houses. You think that that's going to make things better? What? That's crazy. That is like, it's insane that he's talking about that, let alone like putting it out as like a key policy proposal in his State of the Union speech. Is like, what? Like, Biden has all the mainstream digital platforms. If it was any other Democrat, then it would be like, yeah, they have complete control. It's going to be really hard to beat them. But because it's Joe Biden and he's making such terrible decisions with that power, you know? We just watched the speech to see him fall down and get lost. Well, I think that part of what happened there, and I think that this has maybe been going on for a long time, but probably Joe Biden's biggest liability, you know, we're talking about the inflation and everything else like that, but probably the biggest liability that he has is that the electorate views him as too old. They think that he's not competent to run anymore. And so they are doing everything they can to blunt that. And it's really funny to watch because once you realize that's what's going on and you look, they're just projecting everywhere. Oh, Donald Trump is losing his mind and he's becoming, like, it's just so transparent. They're just trying to accuse the other guy of what their problem is so that it blunts that negative. And so I think that the Statement of the Union speech that Joe Biden intentionally went, you know, like fire and brimstone sort of a thing, because they thought that would make him look more youthful. That, you know, if he's out there fighting and fiery and all of that, then it can't be as bad as people say. But I think what happens is, first, the conspiracy theory people say, well, yeah, you can pump him full of amphetamines for the night. Then he goes out and he does other speeches and other stuff elsewhere, and he still looks like he has no clue what's going on. Right? And on top of that, he's just using extremely negative speech. So if you want a masterclass in this stuff, go back and watch Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was, in my opinion, the best Democrat politician of the last 100 years. Like best Democrat, well, it's not 100 years, but the best Democrat politician since FDR. Without question. Obama doesn't hold a candle to the amount of charisma and the amount of things that Bill Clinton just got done. Like the whole thing is really quite amazing. Like, Republicans had the advantage. They were pushing cutting the budget and all of these sorts of things when they took over the House and Senate. And what did Bill Clinton do? He worked together with them and basically got everything that he wanted, completely transformed our tax system. You guys don't even realize how big the omnibus bill of 1992 has to do with the way that things are today in terms of taxes and all of that sort of stuff. And that was all Bill Clinton's victory, right? He is probably the most successful Democrat politician since FDR. So if you want to see how you do that sort of thing, you look at Bill Clinton. And at a time when everybody wanted to, where all the Democrats were pushing kind of pessimistic, and it was, you know, Republicans were pessimistic about things, and so Democrats wanted to be pessimistic back, like, oh, you guys are ruining everything. Bill Clinton came in and said, we're going to be optimistic, and this is going to be the future, and we're going to push into the future, and these are the things that we want to do. And people just ate it up. And what is Joe Biden doing right now? The exact opposite. See, it's kind of weird. Like if you live by the media and you have complete control of the media, it's kind of a liability when you yourself are completely incompetent. Whether that means he will win or lose in November is a different question, right? Probably a little bit too early to say, although I don't think it looks good for him. This should be an what would normally be an easy election for a Democrat incumbent is going to be very close, right? Well, media is what makes, but I mean, go look at the polling though. The majority of Americans believe that he's not competent. So it's not working. I mean, maybe it's working in that, you know, that number should be 80% and it's more like 55% think that he's incompetent. But, you know. Majority of Americans don't. I think the polling on that is pretty accurate though. For all of the issues that we've had with polling, the polls have still been remarkably accurate. It's just, you know, you'll get close contests and then, you know, the poll says it's a toss-up and then people are surprised when it's a toss-up. Like, that's one of the things I always think is really weird is like, you know, the poll says that, like, the Republican is going to win 51-49. And then, you know, election day comes and the Republican loses and everybody's surprised. Oh, the polls were wrong. Well, I mean, like, it was within the margin of error, guys. And most of the polling error has to do with turnout, right? Yeah, you just got to make that margin of error nice and wide. Well, we are absolutely in a very unique time when it comes to politics and polling, because people that normally would not vote, normally not involved in politics, or would normally vote a different way, are coming out in droves. So they just had some elections in California, I believe, like some primaries. And even though, of course, no Republican will win anywhere in California, the Republicans came out in numbers that were extremely concerning for the Democrat Party. So this immigration issue in particular seems to really be driving a lot of people. That's why I think Donald Trump is up among Latinos, for instance, which like makes almost no sense, but it is what it is. Latino citizens actually tend to be very anti-illegal immigration, and it's gotten so bad that now Donald Trump beats Joe Biden with that demographic, right? He's making big inroads among the black community. I think it's almost solely that immigration issue. And so when the turnout ends up being so different, makes it very hard to predict things, right? Like the Senate balance, I think that I would probably wager that whatever the polling says about the contest at the end of October, that the polls will be mostly right on the presidential election. But the race for the House, whether Republicans or Democrats control the House, is probably anybody's guess. But maybe that will shift when we get closer and people do the analysis, and maybe I'll have a better view of that. Joe Biden is making it legal for okay, so Brad, you got to be really careful about the language that you use when you talk about these sorts of things, because if you say it in the wrong way, the media will turn around and say you're spreading disinformation. It's still illegal for non-citizens to vote, you guys. Okay, but what actually is happening? What is happening is they're encouraging people to vote illegally, and there's nothing. In fact, the law and a court case basically says that they cannot check, like that they cannot check to verify if they're legal or not. So you could see a lot of illegal aliens vote in the election, yes. And then it'll happen, and people will say that shifted the election, and the media will say, oh, there's no evidence of that. Yeah, because you won't let us look. Because we're not allowed to look at the evidence to see if that's a thing or not. I think if Trump wins the presidency, Congress will be a Democrat majority. I think that if Trump wins the presidency, that at some point, probably yes, that the House will be a Democrat majority. Maybe not when he gets elected initially, but if not initially, then when the midterms come, they might switch. Yeah, I think that's a real possibility. Either way, it's going to be rough because the House probably stays very closely divided. Ah, yes, and illegal aliens are counted in the census. Or rather, they were counted in the 2020 census. You know what? This one actually really drives me crazy. Because when Donald Trump was in office for 2020, he was doing all of this stuff to kind of stop that. Right? And like, nobody was interested in that battle. Everybody just kind of let it happen. And now Republicans are like, oh, wait, illegal aliens are counted in the census? What? Like they put a question in there on the census so that they could determine who was illegal and not, or like what percentage was illegal, so that they could have that court battle. And it basically got thrown off, and like nobody cared. It was a Fox News article this morning. Well, I doubt there's anything new, right? There was a court case. So to understand specifically what's going on here, there was a court case, and the outcome of that court case was basically that the federal government is not allowed to check and verify your citizenship status. So if an illegal alien puts together, their home address and all of that other sort of stuff and registers to vote, they will get a ballot and nobody will check it. So it's not legal for illegal aliens to vote, but there's pretty much nothing in the way of them doing so illegally. The greatest cell phone is dumping illegals in deep blue territories. Oh, and giving them more votes. Well, yeah. Then there was this whole thing about that the census like miscounted or like that when they put out their updated numbers showed that they actually gave Democrats like a few more seats than they were supposed to. And then everybody like forgot about that one too. That one really pisses me off. Because that is like straight up I'm not going to say that they cheated, but like basically there are states out there that have less House seats than they're supposed to because of the census, and it won't be corrected. That one's wild. Did the census do it on purpose? I don't know. Wish I could prove it. Sure seems awfully convenient, doesn't it? So then you have to get into this, like when you really want to go down that road, though, because, well, here's the first thing: is that American politics. You got to understand that American politics, like the structure of the system, is set up in a way that it's always going to be close, right? So if you get to a point where like the demographics changes, right? People think that the demographics will change so that the Democrat Party will always be in power, that sort of a thing. No. Like the only way that you get that sort of a situation is because a political party exerts their power and influence to suppress the other party. Like that's what happened under FDR, for instance, right? But generally speaking, over a long enough period of time, the parties will just shift, to become competitive again. So what that would look like, I have no clue. I have no clue what that would actually look like 30 years into the future. So the Republican Party, how does the Republican Party shift to get more support from Latinos, for instance, right? But then you have to go into this whole thing about like Donald Trump says that he's going to deport people when he gets into office. Well, good luck with that. I'm deeply, deeply skeptical of Donald Trump deporting 4 million people, right? Like he'll try, but I don't think that they'll be too successful with it. Like, I think you come out and you say, we're going to start aggressively enforcing the law. We're going to start aggressively deporting people. I bet you that you will probably see a lot of people self-deport. But I bet you that they're not even able to get a quarter. I bet you they're not even going to be able to deport a quarter of that. And meanwhile, it will be this all of the weeping and wailing and gnashing, like all of the media frenzy over it to make him look bad in the process, saying that Republicans are being Nazis by trying to deport people and all this sort of stuff. They'll find the sob story of a person that was actually, justified in being in a refugee that got deported, and it's going to be bad, right? Octavia says you took a short. I really don't see myself taking any trades today. It's pretty tight in here too. I would say if I had to take a trade, it would definitely be to the short side. Like there is a meta order short out there, but the liquidity just seems to be gobbling it up, and they know, so they're not pushing it too hard. They finally got rid of the MC chair. What? Well, maybe a small one. Yeah, maybe you could get a tick. What do you mean by that, Brad? Got rid of the MC chair. Who's they? Oh, so we were talking about this. You were saying that Fox had a story about making illegal immigrants to vote, but the story on the headline on Fox is actually Biden executive order attempting to register illegals to vote. Yes, executive order creates numerous opportunities for ineligible voters. So it is absolutely the case that Democrats are trying to make it so that illegals can vote, even though they legally can't. Negative 12.7. Okay, absorbed at 23.5. That's a pretty big wall. You say it's treason. Well, I'm gonna bet you nobody does anything about it. And then when we come in and we say, like this changed the outcome of the election, they're gonna say, no, it didn't. You can't prove it, but we won't let you look. Probably. I know. These sorts of things tend to snowball is the thing. Is like, it'll be like, oh, well, it's illegal. You're not supposed to do it. So most people don't do it. But then like, you know, if it affects an election, for instance, then everybody does it, right? Really weird how people work like that, but. Trajectory won't change until Republicans, the right general, start physically. No, that will never happen. So we were just talking about this the other day, right? Part of being conservative is being moderate, right? Like the conservative personality is horrified by being called an extremist. So it's very effective at you know, suppressing their expression of stuff. You know, so that's why like these Make America Great Again extremists, if you would call them that, they almost never can call themselves conservatives. It's not conservatives that are getting out there and doing that. It's like a completely new group of people that don't care about liberal or conservative at all and are more about America first or Donald Trump himself or some, you know, those sorts of things, right? Because then those people aren't held back by the conservative tendency to be moderate. So it's really funny, but that's the way it is. I can see that among my voters here in Utah, right? Like voters in Utah abhor being considered extremists. Which is funny because they are the most conservative voters in the country and really are extremists relative to everywhere else on especially social issues. Right? Like only in Utah could you get a law that says that, you know, you can't serve alcohol in a restaurant unless it is poured outside of the view of patrons and all of that nonsense. Nowhere else would you be able to pass a law like that except for Utah. What's going on with the dollar? I'm not quite sure. There has been a lot of movement over there. There was movement overnight in the Japanese yen looking strong, but as of late, kind of retracing. So the dollar may just be retracing some movement. It's like when they talk about the government taking their guns, yeah, I have a hard time believing that Republicans would actively fight against any kind of order like that. Yeah. I mean, there is this. The only caveat there is like if it becomes a thing, right? Because I think that Republicans kind of need to see enough people doing it to say, oh, I'm not being an extremist. This is right. You know, like with abortion, for instance, right? You know, there's a large enough section of the country that thinks that abortion is wrong, for instance. So then they can be all out. So if, you know, they made some sort of a gun confiscation program and it became like a movement among the right to push against it, then they would totally do it. And once you get them to that point, then, you know, they're going to be the most intransigent, right? Like they will hold their ground. But you have to get over the is what we're doing extreme sort of aversion that they have overall. What's with Romney crying? How is he a senator? Yeah, Mitt Romney is the perfect example, right? Because what it really comes down to is that conservatives are much higher in the personality of conscientiousness, right? So they really cannot stand the idea that like what they're doing is inconveniencing other people, or that other people really don't like what you're doing. They abhor that. That's why like the shame tactic seems to be so effective against them. It's like, oh, shame on you for voting for Trump. And then, oh, we're so awful for voting for Trump. He's taken over the party. We need to take it back. And this is why you get, it's like so difficult to get the Republican Party to actually do what the Republican Party believes in. Right? Well, because the right is ultimately not about changing things. It's more about keeping things the way that they are, or changing them back to the way that they were, if they're trying to change anything. But I mean, that's why I think that the most useful function that conservatives serve is showing when liberals are absolutely out of their mind. So it may not seem like it because they still kind of have a grip on the electorate, and Joe Biden kind of still has a grip over the electorate. But I think that the Republicans won the transgender debate. These kinds of policies are starting to get rolled back, and the science is starting to admit that doing this to children isn't a very good idea. You might not see it right now, but Republicans won that one. And probably a good 10, 20 years from now, people will look back on it, on like how crazy it was that was even happening. I thought RFK's speech... I'm surprised that he's still around. Did you see that? I posted it a couple of weeks ago. How many weeks ago was this? Political analysis. February 14th. So I posted this almost a month ago. There was this story about like turmoil within RFK's campaign, and them basically saying that it's basically become a grift. I'm surprised that he's still around, but he is still around. Oh, you know, the whole reason this started was because the Zero Hedge story about shrinkflation. I was just looking here. They were showing like Google Trends things and stuff like that. Is like, and stories. They're showing, oh, look, here was the trial balloon. And then they decided that it was good messaging, and now the media is posting tons of stories about it. But I'm pretty sure it's an overall data suggests that shrinkflation is actually a thing, right? I'm surprised that I don't see... Well, they need to go back further, because there was definitely a period between 2020 and 2022 when shrinkflation was discussed a lot more than that, I think. Okay, but anyways, I got so busy talking politics. Let's continue going through the rounds and seeing any kind of other information that we can find that might help us. Amid all the recent talk of deglobalization and fragmentation, China's surplus in manufactured surged during the pandemic and now is really at record levels. Interesting. So even as deglobalization is happening, and there are some statistics to suggest that that is happening, it's not affecting China at least. Oh, no futures trader 71 today. Mohammed A. El Arian, China's first positive CPI inflation print since this August, is being interpreted cautiously. The spot 7% rate for February, above the consensus forecast of spot 3, is viewed as having been heavily influenced by holiday-related factors. Adding to the caution, PPP inflation came in at negative 2.7%, a greater fall than the consensus forecast. Interesting. Producer price index is falling, but consumer price indexes in China. Eric Wallerstein pointing out for us the Fed Bank Term Funding Program, or BTFP, sunsets today with $164 billion of loans outstanding. Okay, so I did not realize that. So that means that this is where things get interesting. Although I still kind of think that the Federal Reserve might do something to kind of cover the gap still that they might announce at the next Fed meeting. So we'll see. Okay, so now this is another interesting point that I think I missed. So here's Peter St. Ange, PhD. Are price controls coming? Biden is going after companies for passing on the inflation that he and Jerome Powell unleashed. The last time we saw this script was the 70s, when Richard Nixon also needed an inflation scapegoat. His price controls led to nationwide shortages, miles-long gas lines, and inflation that actually got worse. This administration is stupid enough to do it again. So I don't always agree with what Peter St. Ange says, but I am concerned that this turns into price controls. For sure. But like, again, here, this is kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, go and try. I don't think it's going to help your re-election efforts. I'm not getting the New York Community Bank play. Why not? Let's see. Where is it at? My, oh my. Look at new scale. Another big up candle today. We should come over to Koifin. When I say in my head, I'm like, it's just Koifin. But then when I actually say it, it's like you can't say it without there being some sort of New York accent in it. That was not a New York accent. What you know what? Daylight savings time. Where's my watch lists? Okay, but we want to look up New York Community Bank. Koifin. So, I don't know what this drop was about, but it wouldn't surprise me to see them come back down to like $2 again. Wow, when you realize the scale of that, right? Wowzer. That right there is 50%. Wow. So this thing is moving. Well, that's what's going on, though, is it's become a high beta play, essentially. That's probably what if there's a play, that's probably what the play is. I think it's going to go up or down in the next day, and if it does go up or down, you're probably going to make 100% your money or lose half of your money, right? Let's see here. Oh yeah, so let's pull up my watch lists and see what we got here. Well, it's probably not the best to look at these yet because the market hasn't opened. I don't know if these show, you know, what the differences are. Rare earth element resources down 15%. That sucks for me. Yeah, Nvidia's down 5%. It was down like 1 or 2% from the overnight, but I have a little bit of concern about Nvidia today. Because if Nvidia moves into a pullback, probably the whole market does, right? Ramco. I wonder if my money from rare earth element resources is going over into these two, because these two continue to do pretty good. Like, well, I just pulled that one up. AARNF. Wait, did I get it wrong? ARRNF. Okay. ARRNF. American Rare Earths. Oh, okay. So this is just such a tiny penny stock that it's still nothing compared to this big jump. What that means that maybe we could buy it now. If I wanted to diversify out a little bit, which I kind of do, I could maybe switch out some of it. Met C, it seems to be doing better though. Ramaco Resources. Oh yeah, that is a better looking stock chart. Interesting. You know what though? I'm way more interested in New Scale though. It's like, what? SMR. That must have been Friday. Yeah, that big up candle was Friday. I should do this in 5 minutes. I should do this run through. Let's minimize this. Come back in 5 minutes. Forex Live says comparison between Solana and Ethereum. Oy. I thought we were done with the Solana thing. Apparently not. Apparently not. Okay, Brannigan Barrett talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is in play this week. We are now firmly in price discovery mode. There is no interest to be short, and as price moves higher, it will only create more interest to be long. Silly season has begun, so a move up to 100K in the near term is a high probability. Probably, yes. Man. Yeah, and I keep seeing really big Tether prints too. Which means, so every time that Tether prints money, like if Tether prints $1 billion, think of it as they just gave somebody a $500 million loan. Okay? Like, there's crazy stuff happening over there. Oh, that's interesting. These guys have like a way to look at market cap, and they're saying that the market cap of Bitcoin is now the 8th largest in the world. The market cap of gold is 14 trillion. The market cap of Bitcoin is 1.382 trillion. Wow. And there was like over the weekend 5 billion printed at Tether. This is so crazy. Donald Trump says there's been a lot of use of Bitcoin, not sure would want to take it away. Oh, yeah. Hi. You know what? You don't have to take it away. Just prosecute Tether. Good grief. Is it worthy of a class action lawsuit against Coinbase that their system crashes on every all-time high and then the price dumps? I don't know. It's just because they didn't hire me. Not that I would work for them anyways, but I shouldn't say that because someday the website that I'm in charge of will go down big time and I'll look super stupid, right? Oh my gosh, really? Negative 16.5k at 23.5 now? They never stopped selling. Kind of looks like with a little bit of a flattener coming in on the yield curve too. Okay, here's the S&P going now. Okay, so SMR opens above Friday's high. Wowzer. So now I can come over here and look though. Yeah, SMR up 10% on the day. Wow. That's crazy. Coinbase up 5. You know what? Where is Coin at? Because okay. I was gonna say, like, where are we at relative to when they open up? Because they're certainly gonna benefit from Bitcoin becoming. The hype hasn't even started on Bitcoin, man. I don't know if it comes. Because it kind of didn't come in 2020, even though Bitcoin did really well. The steam let off on somewhere else. It went to Dogecoin, but that might go. What else we got? Of the Magnificent Seven, it looks like Meta is struggling the most today, down 2.6%. With Apple, the biggest winner, up 1.25%. But they're just getting started, so that one might change. I've been seeing a lot of stuff kind of suggesting that people are concerned about Apple and that Apple is kind of falling out of grace. New scale is just crazy. Wait, didn't I have that up here? Oh, no. I had it down here and then I scrolled up and I'm just coming back down to that spot. That's what's happening. You know, I still don't like the marijuana space, but that one stock that I put on there is doing okay. Costco down? Super Micro down 6.56%. Let's look at them. SMCI. Such an insane chart. Like trying to zoom in on that to see what's going on a daily basis is awfully difficult. Okay. So we got this little island here. The technical analysts will say that we should get like a, you know, that it will gap back down like this and then come back down. So. The regional bank is doing okay. Let's add a ticker here because I don't have New York Central Bank on here, or New York Community Bank Corp, rather. So we should add them. Okay, they down ticked at 23.5 and they're ticking into 23 now, so maybe they're going to break out. EMD down pretty big today as well. Maybe just be profit taking, I don't know. Dogs of the Dow, how are we doing? Verizon and Cisco doing the best. Johnson & Johnson doing the worst. So defensives still kind of suck, huh? That's a section that we need. So we need, well, we got a couple on here. Auto. I don't have anything in auto. Toyota. EM. Stellantis. New group. Defensive. I don't know. Who should we add on defensive? Procter and Gamble. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. PG. Who else? Wendy's? I'm looking at this and they're like, what are the best defensive stocks? They put Wendy's? No, thank you. No, thank you. Pfizer? Maybe. No, Microsoft is not a defensive stock. Come on. Consumer staples. This is a terrible article. Terrible article. 7 defensive stocks. I don't know. I think Procter & Gamble is probably your best, most classic defensive, I would think. Interestingly enough, a lot of these are putting... Oh, maybe these are defense focused. I see. Walmart. Let's do that. Oh, it's WMT. Walmart. Coca-Cola. Sure. Oh, it's already in my watch list. Is it in the Dogs of the Dow? Yeah, it is. General Mills, I don't like them right now. Colgate, Palmolive. Sure. Interesting. There's CL. Eisen Foods. General Electric. Dr. Pepper is its own stock? Curing Dr. Pepper? Merger between Keurig Green Mountain Coffee and Dr. Pepper Snapple? I had no clue. I thought that they were owned by Coca-Cola. That's funny. Curing. Yeah, what is that? You want me to add them on there? KDP? They used to be distributed by PepsiCo? Okay. That's a pretty good December. So I got Walmart, Colgate, Procter & Gamble, and Keurig. Keurig. I don't know how to speak German. No clue how they put. But I think that's a pretty good list. Have you ever looked into Nestle? Yeah, but they're evil. Here, let's do this. I'm going to add a new group. This group is going to be evil. Okay, so who are the current evil companies right now? Okay, Nestle is always on there. Nestle is one of the most hated. Oh wait, where is that one's not showing up. I'm gonna look it up over here. It looks like it's not actually owned in the US. Yeah, they've got an ADR for it.
Block sell.
Ooh, big old move there at 23. Well, a big old order at least. NSRGY. Yeah, that's probably the one that we want. Nestle owns Oxygen. See, A-Ball says, I fully agree to them being evil. Okay, you know who else is on my evil list right now? The Wendy's company. Dave Thomas is rolling in his grave right now. Them doing all these crazy things. Oh, we're going to have like on-demand pricing and all this stuff. They are not liked right now. Yep. Nope. Wendy's is definitely on the evil company list. Who else? There was some on these lists here that we were looking at that I was like, oh yeah, I don't want them. They're evil. But who? Oh, Anheuser-Busch or Budweiser, right? Bud. They're evil. Nike. Yep, they're on my evil list. Nike. Don't like Nike. Who else do you not like? Who do you think is a company undeserving of your investment dollars? Nike's probably the best stock on that list, though. And look, it is up the most today. Nike absolutely deserves the evil list. Okay. Oh, look, here, let's read a story. These are the most hated brands in America. Twitter, Meta, and TikTok are three of they're also the brands with the worst reputations in the US. Wow. Oh, FTX, of course. Wait, Spirit Airlines. What's so bad about Spirit Airlines? And Fox, is that a stock? That is a stock, isn't it? Fox Corporation. Sure. You know, I don't have too big of a problem with them, but I think that they could go on the evil list. Yes. I gotta throw one in there for the lefties, right? Yeah, actually, you know what? Even the righties are kind of like not liking Fox News these days. So maybe they really can go in the evil most disliked companies list. I should put Facebook in there, but they're already on a different list. AIG. Okay, so I found a new list. AIG is number 15. Oh, that's funny. Still on there. Netflix, Uber, Comcast. Oh yeah, we could put Comcast on there. I hate Comcast. CSA. Citigroup, BP, Walmart. Dish Network, number 5. Really? Bank of America. Oh, they turned it into a slideshow. Screw you. Screw you, Insider Monkey. Meta. Chrysler. Well, that's Stellantis. I put them up there in auto, but I think Stellantis totally deserves to be down there. My understanding is that they really make awful cars. General Electric, they make both dishwashers and Gatling style autocannons. Who else is doing it all? Gee. I think part of my thing about that they're evil is that like the public widely dislikes them. So the reason that they're interesting to me is because I think that these companies would be less likely to garner investment from individual investors. That's kind of where I was going with it, right? If I'm going down through a list and I'm like, oh, I want defensive stocks. Oh, okay, what's a good defensive stock? Nestle? I ain't buying Nestle. I would probably do Procter & Gamble, even though people probably dislike all of the defensive companies, but or the defensive sectors, let's say. I need to come up with a different word because apparently a lot of articles they view defensive and they want to talk about Boeing. So that's means different things. Here you go, Bloomberg. Most loved and hated companies. Well, they got a picture of Goldman Sachs, so I bet you that the Goldman is on the list, huh? 3M? No. But 3M can go in the defensive. Right? Do they count as a defensive stock? What is their ticker? MMM? They maybe not count as a defensive. Oh, it's already on my watch list? Where? Oh, it's in the dogs of the Dow. You notice that most of the dogs of the Dow are defensive stocks? Without knowing anything about its stock or news, I would like to think it would be doing good. I think something happened last year. Let's look. I remember there's something happening. Yeah. Oh, it's February. Look at that. Because it was rallying with the rest of the market, and then earnings happened, and they got destroyed. 9% downside risk. Wow, let's read that. With a forward price earnings ratio of less than 10 and a great dividend yield of 6.5%, industrial conglomerate 3M Company looks for all the world like a high-quality, large-cap dividend stock trading for a bargain price. But looks can be deceiving. Earlier this month, my fellow Motley Fool contributor Travis Hoyam, what kind of a name is Hoyam? That sounds like a... Okay, I'm not going to go there. Anyways, posted a point-by-point explanation for why he is not currently interested in buying 3M stock. And just a few days later, RBC Capital analyst Deanne Dre chimed in with a warning of his own. 3M stock is going to just $84 a share, which could cost investors as much as a 9% loss from the closing price notch just before Street Insider posted the RBC analyst news. Dre's criticism of 3M centers on the company's plans to spin off its Solventum healthcare business, which contributed nearly 10% of 3M's operating profits last year. What? As Dre explains in a note covered on StreetInsider.com, the loss of this operating income is likely to hurt 3M's ability to maintain its generous 6.5% dividend yield. Actually, Dre says it makes this dividend downright untenable, preventing 3M from growing its dividend any further and even necessitating a 50 to 70% dividend cut. Dre could be right about that. 3M's normalized per share income has been under $6 per share, the amount of 3M's annual dividend for 2 years running now. If operating income falls 10%, then a dividend cut does seem likely. Yet, according to Dre, few analysts are factoring into their evaluations the effect a dividend cut would have on 3M's popularity. If the company cuts its dividend, investors would have many other lucrative dividend stocks to choose from. Okay. But it doesn't explain what happened with their earnings. But maybe the earnings was part of why that was. Board of Directors approves spin-off. 45% loss if they invested 5 years ago. Wow. I didn't know that they were doing that bad. I thought there was a time when they were doing good. Well, okay. I want more evil stocks. So we could also do evil stocks like that they do bad things. Let's just search Google. Are there companies too evil to invest in? r// stocks. Yes, that's right. Okay, yeah. So I go to this thread and on Reddit, and like the first stock that gets mentioned, Nestle. Yeah. They're evil. Like the first 3 or 4 mentions of a stock are Nestle, actually. Yeah, what are the companies worded the worst by ESG? Tobacco companies? I mean, they're right, but I don't know. People are kind of giving up on smoking. You know, this thing that they're saying that like millennials are aging better is because they drank and smoked less. But I don't know why it seems like Gen Z are aging faster. And I don't know what's with that. Must be the stress. You have Altria and Philip Morris. Oh yeah, Monsanto. Monsanto is definitely there. What is their stock ticker? Did they get bought out by somebody? Now this says it's MON. MON.MX. They must have gotten merged and changed their name. Was blah 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 blah. The Bayer Monsanto merger. Considered one of the worst corporate mergers in history. Bayer AG. It's a OTC, really. B-A-Y. B-A-Y-R-Y? Yeah, right there. So it's funny. What are the companies that are like the most evil? Anheuser-Busch, Nestle, Wendy's, Nike. Right? They all kind of fit in there. So you've got consumer stocks, and then you've got communication, Comcast, right? Oh wait, let's add, if we're gonna put Fox on there, we should add CNN as what they have a stock, right? Who owns CNN? Warner Brothers Discovery. Yes, there we go. Dude. You know what I hate the most about Warner Brothers Discovery is that they took what was the best streaming service in HBO Max and basically gutted it for tax write-offs. Would you say Airbnb is evil? I don't know, man. I don't know if it's Airbnb. Like, I don't see anything fundamentally wrong with people buying a space and then renting it out as basically a hotel, right? The market was in a bubble and they overdid it. A lot of the places that you would stay on Airbnb have stupid rules. But yeah, I kind of think that it's more, the evil ones are kind of more the one that are abusing it and the way that they're using it. Because, like, let's say that I am a billionaire now and I don't want to manage my fund anymore. What could I do? I got to do something fun that still allows me to talk to people every day and stuff. Well, I could run a bed and breakfast. Yes. Could have a bed and breakfast right on, one of the ski towns, that sort of a thing, right? Well, how would I be able to get people to, how would I deal with them booking and all that sort of stuff? Well, I could use Airbnb, right? So I wouldn't say that it's evil. Now I'm kind of tempted to go and add all of the pharmaceutical stocks, but hey, I got to be careful because, like, I'm already looking at Warner Brothers Discovery and being like, maybe that one doesn't belong because that's up 2.81% today. Ooh, VIX is up 7% today. Still below. VIX below 16 is still pretty low. Still pretty low. Man, I tell you what, they continue to sell pretty hard over here in the treasuries, but they ain't getting very far. The liquidity is really strong there today. Broadcom. Why did I put Broadcom on there? It looks like the whole AI space is down today, right? Oh, the financial sector is down too. New York Community Bank now down 5%. DocuSign. That's like my most, if I was to pick up another tech, I'm kind of liking DocuSign. Oh, the Cheesecake Factory down 2.36%. New Skill is still the best looking one of these. Although looks like they've come back quite a bit. Oh, and look at that. Rare Earth Element Resources went from a down 15% to an up 15%. That would, like, 15% is probably a penny. It probably changed to penny, yeah. In fact, at 17 cents, that probably is the case. That's so funny. All right, I'm going to close this window now. I feel good. I liked some of the additions that we made to our watch list there, yeah? I really should try and remember to bring that up every day after the open. And after the close. I really want to watch those every day. Like, one of the things that keeps coming up to me over and over again, and I think it has something to do with some of the stuff that TikTok is showing me. Like, there's this lady on TikTok, and her big thing is like, well, if you have like a Series 7 or any of those things, you're basically not allowed to talk in public. Well, that's not exactly true, but basically the companies prevent you from speaking in public. That's definitely true. And like, if I was going to run a fund, I've kind of realized if I run a fund, I would probably have to change the kind of content that I put out. I don't know if I could just come on here and yap all day on stream if I was running a fund. But, you know, she was talking about the accreditations, and I'm like, well, like, all of that stuff is for you selling it to other people, and it doesn't really tell you, like, it doesn't give you the information that would actually be useful to individual people, you know? Well, part of the problem is that the information that would be useful to individual people is just max out your employer's 401k contribution, max out your Roth IRA, and then after that, max out your 401k, 529 accounts, start putting money into the market, and leave it in there, buy and hold stocks, never sell them, and borrow against that money, right? Like, most people don't need to go beyond that, right? But, like, there's all this talk about, oh, you need to get a financial education. It's like financial literacy is most correlated with success and things like that. But the thing is that if you go and they do a lot of studies about this, going and educating a group of people and giving them that financial does not result in better outcomes. It does not result in better outcomes. So why is that? Well, it's experience, guys. It's experience. Finance is something that you have to build the experience in. You can't just, get all of the information and, memorize all of the terms and then be successful at it. Finance is a skill that you have to develop. It's just like if I told you to read the math book, and you never did a math problem, do you think that you would be able to say that you knew algebra? Probably not, right? We all went through a daily practice with math to understand algebra and do math as well as we can in the public school system, right? And they do that not because everybody uses it per se, although a certain base level of math definitely helps everybody, but because if you want to go on to do more advanced stuff in college, you need to have been learning it your whole life. And that's why we do it, right? Finance is the same way. You have to develop the experience. People that are coming in here and watching the market every day, following the stocks, following the futures, and looking at the macroeconomic environment are going to understand the market and be able to make better decisions than the people that aren't. So if you're one of those people and you want to develop that financial education, the best thing that you can do is just come in and look at it every day. It needs to be something that's on your mind every day. So yeah, come in at the end of the day, look at the stocks and see what did well and what didn't do well, and keep up on that, because there's some valuable education in that. And that is how you learn the skills. That's how you practice. And it'd be even better to, like, you know, even if you don't have the money, like manage a fantasy portfolio, for instance. Oh, ticked back up to 23. I tell you what, that hold there may have been one of the biggest absorptions I've ever seen. Of course, it is a Monday before a CPI, so it doesn't surprise me. But my oh my, I don't think I've ever seen that before. The limit orders absorb that much. So it's like between these three prices right here, 80,000 net contracts have traded. That's a lot. That's a lot. Like 30,000 contracts is usually like, yeah, that's a pretty decent amount at any one price. Five tick initial balance is pretty tight, yeah. It's not the best day for scalping. We'll put it at that. Yeah. Oh, here's a couple of the tabs that I didn't look at, but I don't care anymore. Oh boy, yeah, let's read about this. Another Boeing passenger plane declares emergency, this time over Europe. Should I add Boeing to the evil list? I don't know if I want to add them to the evil list, but I definitely wouldn't want to be in there right now. No. Following the LATAM Airlines 7879 Dreamliner mid-air incident on Sunday, flight tracking website Radar Box reports a KLM Royal Dutch Airlines Boeing 777-306ER from Amsterdam to Sao Paulo has declared an emergency via squawk code 7700 and is currently diverting. Squawk code 7700 is a general emergency. There are no reasons yet why pilots declared the emergency. They interviewed the BA factory workers and they said they wouldn't fly in the planes themselves. I did not see that. Dude. Yeah, I saw this very interesting. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but I saw a very interesting synopsis of their engineering history in particular, and this guy was able to show very effectively how Boeing went from great engineering culture to an absolutely terrible engineering culture over the last like 10 years. That is a company that is experiencing significant issues. Now, it actually kind of interests me because if it's a stock that you're going to hold for like 30 years, then what's going on right now probably gives you a really good spot to go to get a good price on it, right? But it's probably not today. I think that's probably going to continue to be a shit show for, possibly several years. But maybe like 5 years from now, maybe it might be a good buy. It's very wild that you're having problems with them, just like, when it rains, it pours. So you know what's interesting to me? There's this subreddit, CS Career Questions. And most of the people in this subreddit, I think, are like kids currently doing computer science in school. But like, I tell you what, the sentiment in that subreddit is awful. Like, it's, just like nobody can get a job sort of a thing. So let's read a post here. This one is, the desperation is real. I just got pinged about a job that matches my skills on LinkedIn. I checked, and the job had over 100 applicants, only 8 hours after posting. I then checked the description and realized this is a pre-revenue company offering $0 to come, earn pretend money that might one day end up being worth something. So they're only offering ownership in the company and they're not actually paying you? What? How do you get anyone to sign up for that job, let alone 100 in less than 8 hours? You aren't getting paid? I understand the shotgun method of applying to everything that exists and hoping for the best, but at least read the job description, people. You aren't doing yourself any favors working for monopoly money just to get the experience. Equity in a non-public company does not pay your rent. That is wild. Yeah, I never believed the number of applicants listed on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure a recruiter commented on here before saying it was a misleading number, if not completely false. It's only a click-through rate at best. So I saw one guy that he said that he blanket submitted to 100 different applications, and like more than half of them never responded to anything at all. So his assumption was if they responded, they're a real job, and if they didn't respond, they're not a real job. So by his metric, more than half of the job postings are actually fake. And that does line up with some other industry analysis of it that kind of suggests that like half of the job openings that get posted are fake. Oh, that's interesting. This person says unpaid internships are rare in software engineering, but unpaid internships in other fields are generally used to screen out the pores. Oh, is that really correct? When I was in law school, I did an unpaid internship as well as many/most of my classmates. Wow. I didn't even know. I know for a fact that every position, especially CS positions, get murder spammed all the time. The spam is coming from recruiters, candidates, or just shotgunning out at anything. Ask the hiring managers, HRs, recruiters. They get tons of unqualified resumes in their boxes. People who lack skills, have the wrong skills, and need visa sponsorship, etc. They flood every posting, which is why ATS/filtering has gotten so aggressive. Well, I'm never one to defend the sociopathy of the professional world. It's kind of difficult on legit hiring managers right now. There's tons of BS to sift through to find decent candidates, and even then, there are so many BS artists who picked up experience during the boom. Yeah, it sucks for everyone. See, like, if you have the skills, and it's not common skills, the recruiters find you because they need them so badly. So that's how I've navigated through that. But if I was just having to like put out hundreds of resumes a day, ooh, that'd be the worst thing for me. I don't think I'd be very good at that at all. Especially if you're going to go through and like adjust your skills and everything to each posting that you're making. Ooh.
Block sell.
Wowzer, that was a big one. 2 3K orders clashing into 22 there. And icebergs on both sides, by the way. 6K on the bid and 5K on the offer. But the bids won out and they've ticked back up to 22.5. Wow. That is a thick market. I never seen ZN this thick. I'm waiting to see the next tick here and see on what it does. If it ticks back down or if they tick up again at 23 as well. Right now, it looks like they're more likely to tick back down to 22 and we see what happens there. But that was a lot of volume that happened there. Also, a little curious that the yield curve is kind of trying to flatten, but it's not really happening. Like the 2 and 10 year spread, they flattened before our session, but then since the session has been going, it's only changed by like 2 ticks. Oh, r/investing has a Bitcoin top 72,000. That'd be interesting to see what people post. What's the top thread? And the US market isn't even open yet. That's going to be interesting when the ETFs start trading again. Yeah. The dumb move was to not buy back in at 3K. Yeah. Want no part of it. Want no part of it. I just got to keep telling myself that because I know it's going to go up, right? And then as soon as I give it, because I know as soon as I give in, that's going to be the top right there, right? that Bitcoin will eventually kill everyone's ego. The only question is when it happens to you. Yeah. I think that a lot of people forget that, like, okay, they had their money in Mt. Gox and that went under. They had their money in FTX and that went under. That went under. You think that Coinbase could go under someday? I think it's highly unlikely, but it's within the realm of possibilities, yes. And all of these people are in the thread that are like, so do I buy Bitcoin or do I buy the ETF? This is not giving me a whole lot of hope for people like, you know, walking away from this. No. You know what? We haven't talked about it a whole lot. Usually we talk about a lot about it, but screw daylight savings time, right? Wow, NVIDIA is 90% above the 200-day moving average? That's crazy. I had no clue. That doesn't mean that it has to come back. Could keep going. Biden predicts Federal Reserve will lower interest rates. In a speech on Friday, Biden bet that the Fed would be cutting interest rates soon. It is extremely rare for a president not named Trump to comment on Federal Reserve policy. This comes after a climax run in NVIDIA stock and a volatile week that had the market on the cusp of a much-needed pause or pullback. Yet now, if market participants take this comment seriously and believe Biden has inside information about Powell's plan, the market could surge higher. Sorry, I lost my spot here. The market could surge higher, trapping newly minted shorts and avert the healthy price auction it needs to sustain this bull run for the longer term. Anyone think Biden's comments will ignite the market next week, or will they just ignore this crazy old man? Yeah, I think they'll probably just ignore it. But CPI is the big deal this week. Yep. First comment saying that. Slight chance in May and higher chance in June. I'm still kind of looking at this being like having a hard time seeing them cut in June, but no reason to try and jump ahead and call it today. Oh, so here's the thread about the Reddit IPO. Social media company plans to offer 22 million shares for proceeds of up to 748 million. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Bank of America Securities are the lead bookmaking managers. Reddit plans to have 162.28 million Class A shares and B shares after it goes public. Based on the top end of its estimated price range of $34 a share, Reddit would have a market cap of about $5.5 billion. billion. That valuation amounts to about 6.55 times Reddit's 2023 full year revenue of $804 million. Correct. But they say that that's like a crazy valuation, but that actually sounds like not terrible to me. Granted, them having never pulled a profit, it does hurt. So, are we the product? If AI is the new Wild West, are we the new Gold Rush? Or something like that? No, we are the shovels. We are the river being panned. Yeah, there you go. There we go. This guy says we are just training our AI replacements before we get fired. But I want to see people commenting on the valuation. Reversing Redditors has frequently been a good play, so time to load up. Yeah, these IPOs that extract that last bit from their users have a history of unfortunate performance, and it makes sense. You're getting the peak retail investor at the same time they've pumped their valuation in every other aspect, leaving no new buyers to come in to fill the gap. Just a ton of private investors that have been waiting to get out for a long time. A memorable example of this is Robinhood, and they actually have avenues to be profitable. It's a tempting short, and I hate to short things due to the design flaws of being margin called, a reasonable hedge to a long portfolio, in my opinion. Good take, but I still want to hear something about the valuation. Like, okay, here was a similar company that had similar revenue and similar valuations, and here's what happened, you know? One difference between the Reddit IPO and more traditional public offerings is that employees of the social media company will be allowed to sell their shares during the offering. Typically, company insiders such as founders, managers, and employees, and sometimes early investors, are restricted from selling their shares during what is known as the lockup period, which generally lasts between 90 and 180 days. I got some sort of allergen on my eye. It's like stinks like crazy all of a sudden. Maybe this Kleenex that I got is not a good Kleenex. Maybe it's got something on it. Okay, it's about an 8x on revenue, higher than Snap, but in line with Pinterest. Probably overvalued if you don't see a growth story, but it's not insane. Okay, so let's pull this back up. Pinterest hasn't been that terrible of a stock, has it? Well, it definitely got overblown in 2021 and came down. But if you got in on the IPO, you've made money. Actually, you've made 50%. Considering The revenue per user is trash. It might not actually be too unreasonable in comparison to competitors. Other articles state they're seeking up to 6.5 billion, so I'm being pessimistic. This looks better as you get closer to 5 billion, though. Still, I doubt I buy it. Not simping, but there are probably a few ways they can grow. Internationally, Reddit isn't popular outside of the US and Europe. Tough nut to crack, but it's an avenue. AI data revenue. Data is the new oil, and they're going to sell it, which means more revenue even if the user base isn't growing. Increase the ad effectiveness using AI. This is what Facebook has been doing since Apple locked out their tracking. Everyone else is going to be doing it soon too. Plenty of successful companies went through long periods of negative net income. I wouldn't invest at a 6.5 valuation, but they had 20% revenue growth year over year and are probably planning to significantly increase ads and data licensing. It's within the realm of possibility that they cross the 1 billion annual revenue mark and become profitable in the very near future. I'm mostly playing devil's advocate since most of Reddit is shitting on this IPO. Calls on Robinhood. It's normal for a consumer-facing tech company to never turn a profit by the time it IPOs. 6.5 times sales is probably a reasonable multiple in the social media space, assuming no major debt, if you think they'll be competent at growing revenue and working towards profitability. So far, Reddit's licensed AI training data only to Google for $60 million a year. That's the obvious growth opportunity since it's not exclusive, and I could see a number of interested parties wanting access to ongoing data. Not just tech companies, but the numerous government departments building sovereign AI platforms. It's basically free money, very little cost to stream some bytes out to a few whale customers. I won't be buying it as I would rather wait to see if there's a post-IPO drawdown, but I still think 5.5 billion is a reasonable asking price given the growth potential and user base. So sad that your synopsis is down at the very bottom, friends. Palm dime. They keep sending me messages to buy their shares if they are asking me. It shows how desperate they are. That's true. I do kind of wonder if this isn't like we're trying to dump it on our our customers essentially. Oh, hey, they did break the 22 finally, huh? Except for that I'm seeing the yield curve steepen back out. I'm not sure what to make of that one. Kind of looks like the Japanese yen showing some weakness here as this is going on too. But we still got 30 minutes left, so might get something a little more exciting happen before we're done. How we doing over here? You guys still alive? Oh, it's pretty quiet today. Yeah, it's a Monday. It's a Monday. I understand. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. What is this? Trump just sold out bizarre TikTok flip-flop followed meeting with hedge fund manager who has a $30 billion investment? What is this about? Donald Trump is now to the left of President Biden when it comes to TikTok, with Biden telling reporters recently that if Congress passes a bipartisan proposal that could ban the Chinese-owned video sharing app on national security grounds, I'll sign it. The comment came after the House Energy and Commerce Committee unanimously passed a partisan bill that would force the sale of TikTok by ByteDance or face a ban in the United States, according to Punchbowl News. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise wants it on the floor Wednesday of this week. Former President Trump, however, despite repeatedly pushing for a TikTok ban or sale when he was president, has done a complete 180 on the company. And now claims that TikTok, the national security risks, should be allowed to continue on because getting rid of it would benefit Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. There's another really big set of orders going through between 21.5 and 22, but it looks like they're going to continue soloring on down here. Probably not worth like if we had taken a trade, we absolutely could have gotten in at, well, any of these prices, but 24, for instance, when we first identified that it's probably a sell today. But you sit in all that time for 4 or 5 ticks? Worth it? I don't know. Maybe. Funny, we're still not back to 4.1 though. In yield. But that's the next stop, so let's see. If you get rid of TikTok, Facebook and Zuckerschmuck will double their business, Trump posted to Truth Social. He reiterated the comments on a Monday appearance on CNBC. Well, I don't think that you ban it. I think that they're absolutely forced to have an American side of it that, you know, has the algorithm information and everything so that we can be sure that it's not a national security risk. So I don't think that it would actually turn out like that. But yeah, that appears to be exactly what happened. Oh, wait, let's see here. Earlier in Trump's answer, he seemingly blamed lobbyists for Congress's inability to ban TikTok when he was president. Yet that appears to be exactly what happened to Trump, who recently met with billionaire fund manager and GOP donor Jeff Yass, who has a stake in TikTok worth more than $30 billion, according to Punchbowl News. Wait, who is? I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if I've ever heard this name before. Jeff Yass. Well, there's a picture of him. Okay. Net worth of $28.5 billion. Wow. Yass is a big financial backer of the conservative group Club for Growth, which was anti-Trump before recently turning pro-Trump. Yass has given $10 million to the Congressional Leadership Fund, the House GOP-aligned super PAC this cycle, as well as another $250,000 to a joint leadership fund for Speaker Mike Johnson. Political reported this weekend that Kellyanne Conway, the former top Trump aide, is being paid by the Conservative Club for Growth to advocate for TikTok. Conway, who isn't registered as a TikTok lobbyist, called some members about Representative Mike Gallagher and Raja Kiswu's TikTok bill before Thursday's markup, sources close to the issue said. This being reported by Punchbowl News again. On Sunday, the National Pulse reported that former Trump aide Kellyanne Conway has begun lobbying for TikTok and is claiming regulatory guardrails would be better, peddling the pro-CCP line to Congress's members. It couldn't be more transparent what happened on March 1st. Trump got a bunch of money from a critical GOP mega donor Jeff Yass, an investor in ByteDance. Less than a week later, he is now suddenly in favor of continued Chinese ownership of TikTok. Meanwhile, potential Trump VP Vivek Ramaswamy also began the "it's complicated" messaging on TikTok. Bashing TikTok is easy. Understanding the actual issue is harder. President Trump just came out opposing the pending legislation. Here's why. That's right. We need to end all forced data transfers to the CCP, regardless of ownership. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I do feel like that this is different from what Trump was trying to do, because when it was Trump was trying to ban it, it was, we're going to ban it. And then they were negotiating, but then it got dropped. Right. But the negotiation would have gotten what we need, right? Like TikTok would still be around. It's just that they would have an American subsidiary that had the code, or the code that was being used on the US site, at least, so that there wasn't a national security concern. Because the whole thing is they're concerned that TikTok could be spying on us, or what they could be doing with the data. So then there's a bunch of memes. Maybe Trump should keep bragging about his safe and effective vaccine while he's at it. That's funny. Well, true to form though, Zero Hedge kind of basically will always try and make you feel pessimistic about anything in America and the economy. So I'm looking at this and I'm rethinking this, like, should I be feeling like left out on this? I don't think so. But the S&P 500 is kind of making an interesting candle at the moment, though. Very tight though. I don't know if I'd want to trade that one, but it is a move. It is a significant move. I was just checking my messages on Twitter, and I was noticing all of the people trying to scam me in the message requests. I actually have my bot notifying me about a possible Future Strader 71 impersonator. But like, the name has been around for a long time. I think I'm supposed to ban him though. Doesn't look like they used the account, so. So here's the Reddit thread about this. Trump says a TikTok ban would empower Meta and slams Facebook as enemy of the people. Another downtick in quarters into 20.5. They're getting there. You think that we'll see 4-1 before I gotta go? Yeah, the internet doesn't forget. Actually, the internet does forget a lot of things, but in this instance, it didn't. Good job. Yep, they're picking up on it. Didn't Trump try to ban TikTok during his presidency? Yep, but then its owners appear to be ready to donate to his campaign, while Zuckerberg appears to dodge such a donation. Yeah. It's funny that it's been that long, isn't it? Because it feels like just the other day we were when that was a thing. Wow, okay. Okay. A little bit of soft iceberging at 20.5. Goes offer though. And there they dumped the 2,000 on that, so I think it's staying there. Still, it took a lot of orders for them to make it happen. You kind of got to wonder, because you wouldn't expect, like, we're down, like, what? 50K now? Over the session, it's like 50K negative change in delta. If I was in a short, I would be super upset that it's like not going further, right? But what could be causing that much selling? Well, it could be hedging for tomorrow, right? That would probably means that there's some big guys on the other side going along for tomorrow too, though, I think. Octavia says, yes, I'm upset. You're still in it? Are you really still in it? I'm mighty impressed if you're still in that. I don't know if I think I would have given up on that one before it eventually went my way, you know? What do you say? 1 for 16.5? Are you saying that's where you want to take your profits? I don't know, that last little slip through after the big 7K at 20 half came in is a little bit much. Especially since they're still absorbing against it. Yes, sometime this year. Wait, what? You saying that you started a position today and you're gonna hold it until it touches 16 half sometime this year? I only hear selling in TikTok. No, oh no, today. Okay. I don't understand what you meant then. Yeah, well, it has been. I mean, when you come and you look at the deltas, man, nothing but sell. We identified that earlier. We just said, I said, look at this. You don't want to mess with that, right? And I would say that you don't. I mean, yes, you could have made 8 ticks, but you would have had to have been in it for a really long time. Is it worth the stress? I don't know. I don't know. I guess, you know, having one where you've been in it for a really long time ain't so bad. I hate it, but, you know, it's not the end of the world. Well, they came back pretty. It was a pretty decent pullback there off of the new low, but they've bounced right back down to the new low again very quickly. So this could be an area that we could form a liquidity hole at, but there's still a lot of pressure to come through. Does the software you are currently using provide a footprint chart? Yes, it does. All of them do, actually. So I have kind of a weird hybrid setup with NinjaTrader and Jigsaw Day Trader, and I primarily use NinjaTrader for the charts. So NinjaTrader does have a footprint chart. There's like a built-in one, and there's also custom ones that you can use. I don't use those. I'm because of my setup, I'm not using my full license. So it's kind of there's some weirdness there. But so if I'm gonna pull up a footprint chart, I usually do it inside of Jigsaw. But I honestly, I don't find it too useful because I'm sitting here watching it. So I kind of already know what the footprint chart is going to say. I only pull up a footprint chart if there was like something weird happened overnight and I really want to see the details of what the flows were doing there. You know, me trying to figure out if it was a correlation or there was real volume behind it or that sort of thing. Does Ninja Trader provide Indian stocks? Can you? So I don't think so. I wouldn't know anything about that, but I think that if you're going to get something like Ninja Trader or Bookmap, that you are going to want to trade a CME and Eurex futures. If you want to trade stocks, Indian stocks, then you probably want to get an Indian stock platform. And I don't know what those would be, but enough of my audience is Indian that I should probably look that up one of these days. Program that allows you to hear aggressive order strikes like price squawk in Jigsaw, but better of it. Oh, well, so Amir, have you used the price squawk stuff that is offered by Financial Juice? Okay, good question, legit Kala. So after paying for the Jigsaw software, are there additional fees for receiving live futures data? Yes, there is. And there are fees no matter which futures platform you go to some extent. So Jigsaw has a monthly live trading license. So if you're just trading sim, then it doesn't matter. But I pay $50 a month, essentially, to be able to place live orders. Okay. Then there are also data fees, and everybody has to pay the data fees. Some platforms might kind of combine it with other stuff so that you don't really realize that's what you're paying. But basically, everybody has data fees. And if you're going to get like the full CME bundle, it usually comes out to about like $30 a month. So yeah, there are definitely costs to trading futures, unfortunately. And unfortunately, the data fees, the CME keeps jacking the data fees up every year too, so. Price squawk like in Jigsaw's tape? Oh, okay. I'm just saying, if you want something that actually like tells you like the activity that's going on and stuff, Financial Juice has like a really good platform. It can look at a bunch of different things and really give you a good overview of like where stuff is happening. You have a video on your depth of market strategies. So I wouldn't call them strategies. So what I do is I teach you the empirical behaviors of the market, the things that we know and can prove, help you understand the data that you're looking at and the tendencies that happen. It's up to you to form your own strategies. If I were to give you a setup, quote unquote, any kind of setup that's effective, it gets popular and then it gets arbitraged away. So by the time that it would get to you, it wouldn't work anymore. So you have to still have to do that last little bit. But what I am giving you is information that is backed by empirical studies, backed by data, and that you can be sure is solid, correct information. And you can use that as the basis of your understanding of the market to then try and take our understanding of the market further on your own to find something that nobody else has found before and make money from it. Super hard to do. That's why most retail traders lose money, but that's the game that we're playing. And I have a video series. It's look for the order flow video series. Like if you just go to the channel's front page Like everything's there. There's the first thing is like start here that kind of gives you information about like which platforms that I'm using and things like that. And then there's an order flow video series with like 5 videos, I think. Has everything that you need to know about order flow to understand it. And take that, you'll understand it better than I think it's better than any of the other series out there. Because these other series don't really give you the empirical information. It's just kind of information that's been passed down from trader to trader and isn't empirically backed. Well, they did come back as far as 21.5. I kind of would have preferred to have seen 22.5, but I didn't. So I think that the pressure is still on. This really, again, looks to me like a liquidity hole error kind of an area. Let's see here. Quick question. Since you use both Ninja and Jigsaw, I'm having issues connecting both. I've done all the steps and it won't show my live account or sim account when creating the ladder on Jigsaw. Do you know what could be the issue? Okay, so it sounds like you are trying to use the bridge, correct? So you have a market analyzer up with the column added for the Jigsaw. I forget what it's called, but there's a Jigsaw column that you add into your market analyzer to be the data pipe, right? And then you're loading it up over in Jigsaw on the other side, right? So one of the things that I've found that kind of screws you up when you're first trying to do that setup is that you do need to like restart everything. So like, get your NinjaTrader set up and with the column in there up and going before you start Jigsaw. Then once you start Jigsaw, it should pick up on that connection. And then when you come over into here and you start doing the search, it will come up as like a separate connection, I believe. And it kind of just shows it to you. But so that's most likely, based on just what you've said so far, that's most likely what's happening is you need to restart Jigsaw. Because Jigsaw doesn't see them. It doesn't see them unless it sees it on startup. Well, I didn't even realize we're kind of past our time. Good grief. It shows how much I'm paying attention. I don't know. This area did appear to is kind of doing the liquidity whole thing. So, what made you choose to trade futures over other markets? That's a good question. I don't know. You know, I had a lot of success with them early on, and I think that was probably one of the biggest drivers. I think that if you want to come in and day trade and know something really, really well and just understand that one thing and trade it every day, that futures is your place, right? You can day trade stocks, and in many respects, you might have a better chance of success day trading stocks, but you have to have a lot more capital to do it, and you're not going to be trading the same thing every day, right? It's going to be more about knowing every tiny little stock that's out there and knowing which ones are going to be popping off that day and that sort of a thing. So it's a very different game. Whereas this, you know, especially if you're interested in the order flow and stuff like that, you know, the order flow is the best in the futures. And so I got into order flow early on, and so that's kind of been one of the main drivers behind me being in futures. But, you know, I invest in other things and I play other things higher time frames. So anyways, I should probably get going. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't miss it. CPI is going to be a pretty big deal. So we'll see what the market does after CPI. In the meantime, stay excellent.